Shalom, Yasha'Allah. This is your brother Kazak from the city of Riverside, California.
Shafar Ban Yahawada from the city of Riverside, California.
Alright, we're going to be going into a study addressing the true descendants of the children of Israel, where they are in the earth today, who they were, and also fulfilling some prophecies of their dispersion. And we're going to be clearing up a lot of lies concerning the 10 tribes. Alright, so strap on your seatbelts. This is going to be very bumpy, and it's going to bring a lot of clarity that's overdue. There's a lot of debates going on about who they are and who they're not. And after today, you will have the information you need to proceed forth in spirit and in truth, so you can serve the Most High in righteousness. Alright, all praise to the Most High. This information is not to be sold. Okay, we received it freely, and we're giving it out freely. Alright, the first book that we're going to be going into, we're going to be doing a lot of history first. Okay, and we're going to be getting some archaeological evidence, some forensic evidence as well. If you last through the whole lesson, we got a whole lesson at the end where it's straight scripture. So for those who say, oh, these brothers don't go into scripture, we got tons of scripture for you, okay, to prove that what we're saying is true. The first book that we're going to be going into is called Crania Americana. Okay, Crania Americana, or a comparative view of the skulls of the various Aboriginal nations of North and South America. Okay, this guy went into a study on the forensic evidence, studying the shapes of the skulls of the inhabitants of the Americas. Okay, and we're going to prove out of this book who the Israelites are, as well as other books. We at page 6, Crania Americana, page 6. Go ahead and read that right there. Right here. Start over there. Yeah, American race.
The American race. The American race is marked by a brown complexion, long, black, lank hair.
Okay, long, black, thin hair. Alright, now, I'm going to have to do some editing on this mug. Okay, we have two families that they've identified. Okay, two nations dwelling in America. One they call the American family. The second, which is the focus of this study right here, is the Toltecan family. Okay, Toltecan. Let's go to page 149.
Page 149. Are these the works of the Toltecs?
Okay, the guy's referring to pyramids, temples, all made and predate the arrival of the Incas. Okay, and these are all in North, Central, and South America. So the guy's asking, are these the work of the Toltecs,
Or of their cultivated progenitors, the Olmecs?
or of their cultivated progenitors, the Olmecs? Okay, so they know that the Olmecs were the progenitors of the Toltecs. Okay, and we have a vast amount of evidence to tell us and show us what the Olmecs looked like. Okay, they were obvious Negroes. And you guys can do your own research. You can Google it. It's information that's readily found. All right, let's go to page 150. Actually, my bad. Go ahead and roll this out. Yeah, just keep going and then
Okay.
into 150.
In the same region of country near the village of Palink,
The village of Palenque,
are the ruins of a city of which we have already spoken, in which the massive edifices, the inclined walls, the bas reliefs, and hieroglyphic scripture belong obviously to a remote age and are by pretty general consent attributed to the Toltecs.
Okay, so they found pyramids, temples, bas reliefs, which are sculptures sculpted in walls to show what the people were doing and what they looked like. And these things are by common consent attributed to the Toltecs, which we know were the Olmecs. Right? And the evidence is still there to this day.
The gigantic monuments of Anunnaki are also seen in the pyramids of Kalula, Teotihuacan, and Pamatla. When the Aztecs took possession of this country in the 12th century.
Okay, the Aztecs didn't show up and start taking possession of Central America until the 12th century. All right, the 1100s is when the Aztec took possession of the state of Mexico.
When the Aztecs took possession of this country in the 12th century, they found these monuments already existing.
Okay, so when the Aztecs showed up in the 1100s, in the 12th century, they found the monuments of the Olmecs and the Toltecs already existing. So the question begs, who were these people who were here way before the Mexicans even showed up? Okay, with Negro features. And we're going to prove it today. Go ahead.
And referred them to the Toltecs.
So even the Aztecs referred the building of the monuments, the pyramids, the temples, the bas reliefs, they referred to them to the Toltecs. They knew they had no part in building it.
The pyramid of Kalula has a base twice the breadth of that of Cheops, yet is low in proportion. It is built of unbaked bricks.
Okay, we know that the Israelites had experience in building with unbaked bricks. Okay, but that's just a little bit of evidence right there. Go down to that bottom part. Highlight it.
Their knowledge of arithmetic and
speaking of the Toltecs,
their knowledge of arithmetic and astronomy, as we have already noted, was both extensive and accurate.
So they had a knowledge of astronomy, which was both extensive and accurate.
They had constructed considerable aqueducts, of which the remains yet exist.
Now that's a great people that can construct pyramids, monuments, temples, aqueducts that still exist until this day. So when they try to say that the Negroes can't do anything of their own, that's a lie from the pit, and we're going to prove it.
And numerous canals for irrigation.
So we had aqueducts, we had numerous canals for irrigation. We were bringing water from distant lands, sometimes 700 miles away, okay, to bring water to water our gardens and our fields.
Of which one is asserted to have extended a distance of 150 leagues.
That's over 700 miles.
They were able to extract, separate, and fuse metals.
Okay, so we had experience in mining. We were able to extract, separate, and fuse together metals. Okay, that's a knowledge, that's a skill. Okay, I myself as a journeyman welder know how difficult it is, okay, to be able to fuse metals together. You have to have an advanced knowledge of these things to do it. That is not a beginner type of civilization. These are refined arts. Go ahead.
To give copper the hardness of steel.
They gave copper the hardness of steel.
for the fabrication of their weapons and instruments.
And they made weapons and instruments out of them. So you see these people going around with these brass trumpets and all that stuff is stolen, okay? They stole that from us.
To make mirrors of this hardened copper.
And we made mirrors of it.
Of a hard stone, or of hard stone. To form images of gold and silver, hollow within. To cut the hardest precious stones with the greatest necessity.
With the greatest nicety. So you see the diamonds and stuff. You got your heart-shaped diamonds, square, round diamonds. We was doing that stuff back in the days.
To manufacture and dye cotton and wool, and work and figure the stuffs in various ways, and to spin and weave the fine hair of hares and rabbits into fabrics resembling and answering the purpose of silks.
Okay, so we even had nice garments. We were able to dye them, weave them together, and have all kind of diverse garments as we pleased. All right, and I'm going to prove that the Indians, when they came, they were still on the basics. Okay, killing animals and wearing the skins. All right, we had already figured all that stuff out. Go ahead.
Such are the people whom certain closet authors in Europe have stigmatized as barbarians.
Okay, and we should all know that by now. They stigmatize us as barbarians when we're really the greatest people on the face of the earth. Okay, but they pass us off as barbarians and savages. Why? To dehumanize us so that they can kill us. Okay, if the world knew how great we were and all the inventions that we invented and all the scientific methods that we came up with, that we perfected, they would not stand for that. Okay?
Such are the people whom certain closet authors in Europe have stigmatized as barbarians, incapable of the arts and refinements of civilized life.
All right, but we know contrary. We're going to go into this book right here to give some evidence of our presence in America. Okay? And we just read that the Olmecs and the Toltecs had experience in metallurgy. Okay, we could extract copper, we could fuse it together. All right? Go ahead and read the highlighted part. This is a book called The 10 Tribes. Let's see. This book is called The 10 Tribes of Israel, or the true history of the North American Indians, showing that they are the descendants of these 10 tribes. And we're going to prove that the title is false. Okay? The North American Indian is not of the 10 tribes of Israel. The Mexican is not of the 10 tribes of Israel, which will be proven thoroughly in this lesson. All right, but here they're going to be found in possession of a copper tube, okay, tightly soldered, which we know through the history that the Olmecs and the Toltecs had that type of knowledge. They were able to extract the metals, to fuse them together as they wished. Okay, go ahead.
Found one tribe in possession of a copper tube.
So this guy found an Indian tribe in possession of a copper tube,
tightly soldered.
Tightly soldered. Okay, it's like that thing was welded together. Tightly soldered.
And when asked what it contained, they said they were not able to tell.
Okay, so if they're the ones that soldered it together, manufactured it, shouldn't they know what was in it? Okay, but they're looking at them like, hey, we don't know what's in this thing. Okay, we can't tell what's in it. But he eventually got them to let him open it up. And let's find out what was in it.
But they have received it from their ancestors a long time ago.
Okay, the Indians said they received it from their ancestors a long time ago. And we're going to explain how it was that they got in possession of that tightly soldered tube of copper.
He found it filled with parchment, with inscriptions.
Okay, when they opened it up, he found it filled with parchments and inscriptions.
it was declared to be part of the 5 books of Moses.
And this tightly soldered copper tube was found to have the portion of the Torah in it. Okay, proving that the Hebrews were in America. Okay, we land that fact down first, that the Hebrews were in America. Go ahead.
Here we have another link in the chain, proving that the Hebrews were here many years before the white man came to this continent.
Exactly. We didn't just come over here on slave ships. Okay, we were here many years before they came. Now we going back to the Crania Americana, page 141. Page 141.
Crania Americana, page 141.
Stop at
I'll stop right there. Okay. Of the civilized nations of Anuak, those which claim the greatest antiquity are the Olmecs.
Okay, so there's a city. Okay, Anahuac is the capital city of Tiahuanaco. In the realm of Tiahuanaco is found the most ancient pyramid. Okay, Anahuac was the capital of Tiahuanaco. So among all the nations of Anahuac, who claims the most ancient history? The Olmecs. Okay, read that again.
Of the civilized nations of Anahuac, those which claim the greatest antiquity are the Olmecs.
Those who claim the greatest antiquity, okay, the greatest civilization of the ancient times are the Olmecs. Okay, we're going to prove that they were the ones here first. Go ahead.
Who extended their migrations to Nicaragua and the Gulf of Nicoya. The Mixtecas and the Zapotecas, these people are said to have been as highly civilized as any of the nations who succeeded them.
As any of the nations who succeeded them. Okay, there was no civilization that surpassed the Olmecs. Go ahead.
And it seems more than probable that some of the architectural monuments of Mexico will yet be traced to a period long anteceded to the arrival of the Toltecs.
Okay, so it's saying that the monuments in Mexico are dated to a period long antecedent, long before the arrival of the Toltecs, the Toltecas, which we know came from the Olmecs. Okay, so it's common sense. When they start calling themselves Toltecas, that was a period way into their history. Okay, they started off as the Olmecas. Later on, they were the Toltecas. They're the same family, same nation, same people, same language. Okay, keep going.
The first recorded invasion of Mexico was that of the Toltecas. Their original seats are stated in their traditions to have been to the northwest of Mexico.
Okay, now we're going to go to page 83. Page 83, same book, Crania Americana. Hang in there. I know this is a lot of reading, a lot of information, but it needs to come out. Okay, and properly addressed, it was proved beyond a shadow of a doubt who are the true 10 tribes of Israel that was found over here in North, Central, and South America. This is the chapter under the Toltecan family.
Page 83, the Toltecan family.
We're about to get the locations where they were at.
In North America.
So in North America, where are they at?
In North America.
In North America.
However, the people of this family were spread from ocean to ocean.
So they were spread from ocean to ocean in North America. Okay? That includes parts of Canada, all right? From California all the way to New York, okay? All the way down to Florida, okay? The Toltecan family was there. Go ahead.
Through the present tendencies of Mexico.
All the way down through Mexico. And remember, the Toltecs came from the Olmecs. Okay, Google and look what the Olmecs look like. Okay, they were obviously Negroes, and we're going to prove it that they are the lost tribes of Israel. Go ahead. So they were in Mexico.
Through the present tendencies of Mexico, Veracruz, Puebla, Osaka, Guatemala, Yucatan,
the Yucatan Peninsula, which is also right there near Belize, Nicaragua, etc. Okay? Now we're going to get where they're at in South America. So from North America, they were from ocean to ocean. Okay, in Mexico, they were all throughout, all the way down to the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, now we're going to see where they were at in South America.
In South America, on the contrary, this family chiefly occupied a narrow strip of land between the Andes and the Pacific Ocean.
Okay, it says chiefly, this family chiefly occupied. Not that that was the only place they were at, but in South America, this family chiefly occupied a narrow strip of land between the Andes and the Pacific Ocean,
and were limited on the south by the great desert of Atacama.
And we're limited on the south by the great desert of Atacama. Okay? So this right here we're going to see is describing the land of Peru. Okay? We're going to prove that they were the ancient Peruvians as well. Alright, from there, let's go to page 96, and we're going to deal with that. Remember the location of the Toltecs in South America. They were located on a narrow strip of land from the Andes to the ocean, and were limited on the south by the great desert of Atacama. Okay, now let's get it. This is page 96 regarding the ancient Peruvians, and we're going to see that they dwelt in the same exact place because they were the same family. Go ahead.
The book Crania Americana, page 96. The ancient Peruvians. Peru is a narrow strip of land.
Sound familiar? That's what we just read in the last part. Go ahead.
Between the Andes. And the sea.
And the Pacific Ocean.
Bounded on the south by a desert.
Bounded on the south by the great desert of Atacama. That's Peru. That's where it says that the Toltecan family in South America chiefly occupied. Okay, we were in other parts as well. We're going to prove that too. But we chiefly occupied the land of Peru. Okay, from the Andes to the Pacific Ocean, and we're bound on the south by the great desert of Atacama. Okay, stick with us. This is some heavy information. Let's go to page 98, and we're going to get a description of the ancient Peruvians.
Page 98. In fact, their low facial angle, their sloping forehead, and their protruding face.
Okay, so ancient skulls of different people have different shapes. Okay, and they don't change over time. That's why your ancient forefathers look just like you. Okay, from father to son. Okay, and that was the study of this book, to show the difference between the different races based on the size, shape, makeup of their skulls. Okay, this is forensic evidence we're bringing out. Okay, we're going to also bring out some heavy historical evidence as well, and some DNA evidence. At the end, we're going to seal it all off with the Bible, the scripture on top of scripture to prove what we're saying right here. Okay, so this is in the midst of the description of the ancient Peruvians.
Their sloping forehead and their protruding face might lead to suspicion of a Negro origin.
So the makeup of their skull would lead you to a suspicion of a Negro origin. Okay? Keep that in mind. Facial features, shape of the head, they're straight Negroes. Okay? Go ahead.
Were it not for the unanswerable evidence derived from the texture of the hair.
So the texture of the hair was a little different. Okay? And we know that our people can produce all types. Okay? The Negro can produce all types. Straight, curly, nappy, all kind of skin colors. Okay? We make it all. Anything you see on this earth, we can produce. Okay? So don't be mistaken by the texture of their hair. Okay? They were Negroes. Go ahead.
This is uniformly long and lank or thin.
It says the ancient Peruvians' hair was uniformly long and lank or thin. Go ahead.
And appears to have been worn at full length by both sexes.
Okay, so when you see the monuments, the bas reliefs found in ancient Peruvia, okay, and it shows you those dark-skinned people with Negro features, with long locks, with long hair, that's the ancient Peruvians, okay? Those are Negroes. Go ahead.
And its natural blackness is preserved, notwithstanding centuries of inhumation.
Okay, and its natural blackness was preserved, okay, in spite of centuries of inhumation, centuries of them trying to exterminate them, okay? They still kept their natural black hair, all right? That's just a quick description of the ancient Peruvians, okay, which we know were the Toltecan family. All right, family, we had page 83, the same book, Crania Americana, okay, page 83, dealing with the Toltecan family. We're just going to go back over the description and location of the land that they dwelt in, just to get some context of what we're going to go into right now. Go ahead.
Page 83, the Toltecan family. In North America, however, the people of this family were spread from ocean to ocean.
Ocean to ocean, North America.
Through the present intendencies of Mexico, Veracruz, Puebla, Oaxaca, Guatemala, Yucatan, and Nicaragua, etc. In South America, on the contrary, this family chiefly occupied a narrow strip of land between the Andes and the Pacific Ocean, and were limited on the south by the great desert of Atacama.
Okay, so those are the locations they were found. Okay, in North America, from ocean to ocean. They were prevalent all throughout Mexico, all the way down through South America, okay, and way into Peru. All right, go ahead. This is page 84 now, dealing with the Toltecan family still.
Page 84, Toltecan family. Successive nations of that family held dominion over it for thousands of years.
Okay, so we have records that the Incas and the Aztecs didn't show up to the 1100s. Okay, however, successive nations of the Toltecan families, okay, the Olmecs and the Toltecs, held this land for thousands of years. Okay, go ahead.
During these periods of power and greatness, and an organized feudal system divided the nation into two great classes of nobles and plebeians.
Okay, so they had a society structure. Okay, they had two great classes, nobles and plebeians. Okay, elites and commoners. Okay, go ahead.
The advent of the Spaniards,
when the Spaniards showed up,
destroyed all distinctions by reducing both classes to equal vassalage.
Okay, so when the Spaniards showed up, it's just saying that they made everybody slaves. There was no more nobles, commoners, everybody was on the same plane. Okay, go ahead.
And 3 centuries of slavery.
3 centuries of slavery.
and oppression on the part of the Spaniards have left few traces of Mexican and Peruvian civilization.
Remember, this is ancient Mexican. Okay, and it's going to make the distinction right here.
These nations can no longer be identified in existing communities.
Everybody said, where's the Toltecs? What happened to them? What happened to these great people that built these pyramids? Okay, we're still here. All right, some of us never left. Okay, we were conquered, we were taken down and put into captivity. But this is where we started, and some of us are still here. Okay, you're going to know by the end of this study that we are the lost tribes of Israel, or that hidden people. Go ahead.
And the mixed and motley people who now bear those names.
Who now bear the names of Mexican and Peruvian, the mixed, motley people who now bear those names,
are as unlike their ancestors in moral and intellectual character as the degraded Copts of Egypt are unlike their progenitors of the age of Pharaoh.
Okay, so if you look at the degraded Copts of Egypt, you try to compare them to the pharaohs of the ancient Egyptian dynasties, they are completely separate people. Okay, that's the same thing that he's saying right here. The Mexicans and Peruvians of today who call themselves Mexicans, who call themselves Peruvians, are a completely separate people. Okay, they are degenerates. Okay, they are not that magnificent, powerful, ingenious nation that built all the monuments of Teotihuacan. Okay, Tiahuanaco, Anahuac, Chiaps. Okay, all those pyramids and those temples were built by Negroes. Okay, and they left the big sculptures of themselves to prove it. All right, all praise to the Most High why they did that, because if they hadn't done it, we wouldn't have this evidence today. Okay, but it's still there. These heads are still being found all in and around the temples. Okay, so we can look at them and see, okay, these people were obviously of a Negroid descent. Okay, go ahead.
Toltecian. In the arts and sciences of the former, we see the evidence of an advanced civilization.
Speaking about the Toltecs, in the arts and sciences of the Toltecans, we see evidence of an advanced civilization. Okay, some of these scientists and architects, they still can't figure out how they built some of these temples. They come out with it and they say, oh, it must have been aliens. Okay, because we can't understand how to do it. It must have been some kind of aliens. Couldn't have been those Negroes.
Rio Gila in California.
The Rio Gila in California.
To the southern extremity of Peru. Their architectural remains are everywhere.
The architectural remains are everywhere. Temples, monuments, pyramids, the big Olmecan heads.
Among these are pyramids, temples, grottos, bas reliefs, and arabesques, while their roads, aqueducts, and fortifications, and the sites of their mining operations sufficiently attest their attainments in the practical arts of life.
Okay, so all those things are evidence that we had knowledge, and advanced knowledge of not only the practical arts of life, but we had advanced knowledge in mining, in building, architecture, all kind of stuff. Okay, using advanced techniques that they still can't replicate to this day. All right, let's go to page 100, and we're going to get some Indian testimony. Okay, they're gonna tell you we had nothing to do with building this stuff. All right, page 100.
Crania Americana, page 100.
Okay, and this is speaking about the temple at Tiahuanaco. Okay, which is dated the most ancient pyramid in South America?
Tiahuanaco. This monument is the most ancient in Peru.
That's the most ancient monument in Peru. The most ancient. There was nothing built before that.
For it is supposed that some of these structures were built long before dominion of the Incas.
So that stuff was built long before the dominion of the Incas. Okay, Tiahuanaco was there way before the Incas showed up.
I asked the natives.
So now this guy's asking the natives, right? The Indians who now call themselves Peruvians and Mexicans, okay, who are extremely different from the real inhabitants of that land. Just like the Copts of Egypt are different from the ancient pharaohs of Egypt. So we're getting some testimony on behalf of the natives right here.
I asked the natives in the presence of Juan de Vargas.
Now these are the people who call themselves Peruvians, who call themselves Mexicans, not the originals.
Who commands here, if these edifices were built in the time of the Incas.
So this guy is asking the natives, okay, the Mexicans, Peruvians, who call themselves by those names, if the temples and pyramids that he's looking at were built in the time of the Incas. Let's hear their response out of their own mouth.
But they laughed at the question.
They laughed at the question.
Repeating what I have already stated.
Repeating what he already said above, that Tiahuanaco is the most ancient monument in Peru. They repeated that and they added some more. Let's hear what they said.
Adding that they did not know who built them.
These are the Mexicans and Peruvians saying, we don't know who built Tiahuanaco.
But that they had a tradition of their ancestors that these structures appeared in a single night as we now see them.
We don't know who built them. They just popped up overnight. Supernatural. Aliens built them. We don't know. Okay? But we know who built them. Alright? The greatest people on earth built them.
It will be observed by the preceding narrative that tradition among the Peruvians attributed these
Cyclopean, okay? Now don't think of a one-eyed monster, okay? We got the definition of cyclopean right here at the bottom of the page, okay? Cyclopean is denoting a type of ancient masonry made with massive irregular blocks, okay? Denoting a type of ancient masonry made with massive irregular blocks. Okay, so the Cyclopean structures, this ancient masonry that was made with gigantic irregular blocks. Okay, think about the Olmec heads when we speak about this. Okay, go ahead.
That tradition among the Peruvians attributed these Cyclopean structures,
these big Olmec heads,
to an era long antecedent,
way before,
to the appearance of the Incas.
So they like, yo, this stuff was here way before we got here. Okay? When we refer to the Incas and the Aztecs, we're referring to the modern day Mexicans. Okay? So they're like, yo, this stuff was here way before the Incas got here. Okay? Go ahead.
And this tradition is sustained by history.
And this tradition is sustained by history. So the oral tradition of the Incas backs up the historical facts that they already knew. Okay, they align with each other.
For the city of Tiahuanaco did not fall into the hands of the Incas until the reign of Maita
Yupanque. Okay, the city of Tiahuanaco did not fall into the hands of the Incas until the reign of Maita Yupanque. Okay, Maita Yupanque. Remember that name. It's going to be key in a little further in this study. Okay.
Maita Yupanque, the fourth king, at which period the edifices in question must have been in existence for centuries.
Okay, so he's looking at the monuments of Tiahuanaco, and he's asking the natives, hey, who built these? They laughed at him. Like, man, this is the most ancient stuff over here, and we had no part in building it. It just popped up overnight. And also, it says that those monuments had to have been in existence for centuries before Maita Yupanque showed up and took it over. Go ahead.
And were already in a state of ruin and decay.
Okay, by the time the Incas showed up, that pyramid was already abandoned. It was already in a state of ruin and decay. It was already overgrown with bushes and vines and stuff by the time the Incas showed up.
Garcilaso de la Vega, himself of the royal Peruvian family.
So this is a guy from the royal Peruvian family. Okay, the modern Peruvians. Now, he's of the royal family, the elites, the people who know the history, who know what's going on. Listen to what he says.
Garcilaso de la Vega, himself of the royal Peruvian family, admits that these ruins existed at the time the country was conquered by his ancestors.
Oh, wow. The country was conquered by his ancestors. Who did they conquer? You got to conquer somebody. Okay, and the ruins, the pyramids were in existence at the time that they conquered the nation. Okay, they were already here for centuries. Go ahead.
And a Peruvian author, 2 centuries and a half nearer our own time.
So here's a Peruvian author, somebody from the land, studying, okay? They have history right there in front of them to back up what they're saying. 2.5 centuries nearer to our time, 250 years later, okay? Listen to what he says.
States that Tiahuanaco is indisputably
okay,
anterior
before, in a long time before,
to the monarchy of the Incas.
That stuff was there long before the monarchy of the Incas, way before the Mexicans showed up. Tiahuanaco was already there, and by the time they got there, it was already in a state of ruin.
And speaks as if from personal observation.
So this guy says, yo, I saw this stuff with my own eyes. Let's hear what he saw.
Of a gigantic pyramid and colossal human figures.
A gigantic pyramid and colossal human figures.
Cut
Olmec heads.
Cut from solid rock.
Cut from solid rock.
Indicative of the power and genius of a great nation.
Okay, and this stuff is obvious. It's indicative of the power and the genius of a great nation. The greatest nation to ever walk the face of the planet, or that ever will. Okay, go ahead.
Herrera also alludes to a tradition of the Indians.
So here's another historian named Herrera. Okay, he can be found in multiple references. Okay, this guy Herrera was a well-known historian of his time. Now he also alludes to another Indian tradition
of the Indians that these edifices had been built by Amazons.
Okay, they called us Amazons. Okay, if you go down to Peru, just east of Peru is the Amazon forest. Okay, so they're like, yo, these things were built by Amazons. When?
At a remote era.
At a remote era.
Nor are the Incas mentioned as having had any part in their construction.
Nor are the Incas, the Mexicans, mentioned as having any part in their construction. Okay, there's no records that they could find to say that the Mexicans had any part in building those monuments. And it's pretty obvious. Okay, the builders built them after their own selves. Okay, they left you the evidence of what they look like. Okay, and they're not Mexican, sorry. They're not Indian. Okay, go ahead.
It is probable, says Humboldt.
is probable, says Humboldt. This is another historian.
That the edifices were, which are called in Peru by the name of Inga Pilca.
Now these are the monuments that the Mexicans actually built. This is the stuff that the Incas actually built themselves. Now let's see when they're dated. Go ahead.
Or buildings of the Inca do not date further back than the 13th century.
Okay, their stuff isn't even older than the 13th century. Okay, they didn't start build. They didn't show up to the 1100s. They didn't finish building these things to the 1200s. Okay, at which time we were already in existence. Okay, we were here. We had successive families rise and fall. We had our own civil wars amongst ourselves. We had these monuments that are thousands of years old. Okay, we know. I mean, when they say thousands, we know it's about 1,000 and some change, probably. Okay, because we know that this earth is only a few thousand years old, not 40, 50 million years old. Okay, that's another lesson in and of itself. Go ahead.
Those at Banacque and Tiahuanaco were constructed at a more remote period. So also were the walls of unbaked bricks.
Oh, here goes some more walls of unbaked brick.
Which were made by the ancient inhabitants of Quito.
I've heard that name somewhere. Okay? Made by the ancient inhabitants of what?
Of Quito.
Of Quito. Man, I think I have another book that mentions Quito. Let's get it. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. Okay? And we're going to show you, we're going to prove why this book is so expensive. Okay? It's not because they found some Indians that could say the Shema, but it's because the Indians themselves told them that they were not the children of Israel. And they actually persecuted the children of Israel. Okay? Now this is page 363. The same chapter everyone uses to try to prove that the Indians are Israelites. We're going to show. All you had to do was read the whole chapter for yourself. Okay, and you'll see that they even make the distinction that they are not the Israelites. All right, page 363.
Lost Tribes and Promised Land. Page 363.
Okay, now remember what we just read in Crania Americana. Okay, the monuments at Banacque and Tiahuanaco and the unbaked bricks that was there were built by the ancient inhabitants of Quito. Quito. Go ahead.
2.5 years before, he told them, while traveling in the wild mountains of Quito.
So here we are, these guys, page 363, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, traveling through the wild mountains of Quito, right? Where we know that the ancient inhabitants of Tiahuanaco and Banacque, who were the Toltecs and the Olmecs, left their monuments and the proof of their existence. So here we are in the same place, the mountains of Quito.
He had heard some of his Indian guides remark that the natives of that country,
the Mexicans, the Peruvians of that country,
deserved all the suffering that they had undergone at the hand of the Spaniards.
So they even acknowledged that they deserved everything that they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. Why?
When he asked them to explain who they thought such a thing, they had replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people. The greatest in the world.
That's a quote, okay, from Indian, the Francisco guide. Okay? He says they deserved everything that they suffered at the hands of the Spaniards because they so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. Okay, go ahead.
Nothing more had been offered by them on this point. But later in some conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway.
Now, this is another quote, okay?
By means of a people now hidden.
Who's those hidden people? Could it be the lost tribes of Israel? Let's find out, okay? He said, you know what? We're going to be avenged anyway at the hands of a people now hidden. Whose nationality was hidden from them? I think y'all got a pretty good, you can take a pretty good guess at it by now. Go ahead.
The two references apparently were to the same people.
Okay, he understood that those two references, that special people, that holy people that they so badly treated, and the people who would avenge the Indians upon the Spaniards were to the same people. Okay, that reference was to the same people. Let's go to page 364. Next page, right at the bottom of the page. Francisco told Montesinos.
Francisco told Montesinos all he knew about these people from his own traditions.
Okay, so here's Francisco telling Montesinos. Francisco's an Indian. This Montesinos, I've identified him as Jewish. Okay, not a real Israelite, but he's a Jewish guy going around searching out for the Israelites, trying to find them so that they can come and enslave them. Okay, so Francisco told Montesinos all he knew, right, about those people.
His ancestors, to their eternal shame.
His Indian ancestors, to their eternal shame,
had indeed made war on them.
Man, they indeed made war on them. And did what?
And persecuted them.
And persecuted them. Okay, they made war on the Olmecs and the Toltecs. And they persecuted them. Remember, this is in the mountains of Quito. Okay, where we have already established that the Olmecs and the Toltecs had the most ancient civilization. And then the Indians come along, and what happens? Okay, they made war on us. They persecuted us. And I have the record of that war as well. Go ahead and read that from the top, that quote. His ancestors.
His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people and had given warning that they should be left alone.
Okay, so it says only the sorcerers. We're just going to say only their spiritual guides, okay, had knew, gave them warning that we were a special people and had warned them that they should leave us alone, okay, or leave the Olmecs and the Toltecs, okay, the original inhabitants of the land, to leave them alone. Listen to what else they say.
The God of those children of Israel,
the God of these children of Israel, these are the Indians saying that they persecuted the children of Israel, that they made war on the children of Israel. Okay, who were the people? It was the Olmecs and the Toltecs. Now here we have the Indians saying that those were the children of Israel. We made war on them. We persecuted them. Okay, go ahead. The God of these children of Israel.
The God of these children of Israel is the true God. They had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true.
And everything inscribed in our tablets is true.
At the end of days, they will be lords of all the nations of the earth.
At the end of days, we will be lords of all the nations of the earth. Okay? I got all kinds of scriptures running through my mind that attest to that. Okay? Prophecies on top of prophecies. All right? And these Indians knew. Okay? They knew we were the children of Israel. And that we would go and reign over the whole earth. Go ahead.
One nation will come bringing many things to this land. And after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth, as they once did.
So they knew that there was a time where we reigned over the whole earth. That's why you can find evidence of us in Europe, evidence of us in China, in Japan, in India, okay, in America, North, Central, South America, everywhere. Okay, the Most High dispersed us over all the nations of the earth. Okay, and right here where he says they shall go forth from where they now are. Okay, that's where we at now, in our enemy's land. And the day is coming we're going to leave these lands, when the Most High is going to bring plagues upon these lands. Okay, and he's going to deliver us from the hands of our enemies and from all those that hate us. And we're going to reign again over the whole earth as we once did. All right, now we're going to get this, read that reference about that war again. And then we're going to get the record of that war.
Francisco told Montesinos all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them.
Okay, now let's get Crania, Americana. Okay, all praises to the Most High. All right, this book is supposed to be a book on forensics, but it's a wealth of history as well. All right, page 102. And we're going to get this war, okay, because they did make war on us. Okay, it was a war of extermination. All right, and that's why they go back in history and they're like, oh, what happened to these great people? They just disappeared overnight. Nah, it was a few hundred years, okay, that we went through this war with them and that they persecuted us for a few hundred years. All right. Let's get it, that orange part right there.
Crania Americana, page 102. The modern Peruvian Empire had existed upwards of 400 years at the time of the Spanish conquest.
So the time that the Spanish got here in 1492, or give or take a few years, wherever you want to date that is, the modern Peruvian Empire had only existed for almost 400 years, which dates them back to when?
So that its origin may be dated somewhere about the year of 1100 of our era.
Okay, so the modern Peruvians, okay, and Mexicans and Incas, they only date back to the 1100s in Mexico. Okay, sorry, but you're not the indigenous of America. That's just plain and simple. Okay? Everybody knows it. Alright? The Olmecs, the Toltecs were here way before you. Alright? We're going to prove that the children of Israel. Alright, keep going.
Now it appears that among the first military enterprises of this new family was the conquest of Coleo.
That was the first enterprise. Okay, that was the first invasion. The first military enterprise of that new family was the conquest of Coleo,
which possessed a productive soil and warlike population.
Okay, so the province of Coleo possessed a productive soil. Okay, is rich, and there was a warlike population dwelling in that land. Okay, go ahead.
And embrace with this confines the Lake
Titicaca. Okay, and you can look that up for yourselves and see where that's at. All right, the Lake Titicaca. All right, they didn't get that land until the 1100s. Go ahead.
From which the Incas pretended to have derived a supernatural origin.
Okay, so the Incas, they're looking at these monuments that they found down there, and they pretended that they came from a supernatural origin. Like, yo, these things were built by aliens. We don't know who built them. We can't explain how they were built, so they must have been built by aliens. Can't be these Negroes. Go ahead.
Every effort was therefore made to subdue and to destroy the Colos.
Okay, now pay attention to this information. It says every effort was made to subdue and to destroy the inhabitants of Colaus. Okay, the Colas. Go ahead.
The Inca
Yupanque.
Yupanque.
Okay, this is the 4th Inca king, Maita Yupanque. Okay, remember that name, Maita Yupanque. This is the guy who engaged in this war of extermination on the Toltecs. Okay, the Colas, which were a branch of the Toltecs.
The Inca Yupanque waged against them a war of extermination.
Okay, he waged against them a war of extermination. Okay, it was a massive genocide. Okay, and this explains why they disappeared, so-called overnight. Okay, it was a war of extermination. Go ahead. Oh, excuse me. And this is the war that's referenced by Francisco, saying that they indeed made war and persecuted the children of Israel.
And we are told by Herrera that in some of the towns he left so few persons alive.
So they left so few persons alive. They killed almost everybody.
That inhabitants were afterwards sent from other parts of Peru to colonize the wasted districts.
So they had to bring in people from outside, okay, just to keep the place running. Okay, they killed so many of us. Okay, there was millions of us down there. Okay, and they killed so many of us that they had to bring in people from the outside to keep it going. Go ahead.
The same historian adds that in order further to depopulate the country, the inhabitants were banished from it in large bodies.
Okay, so whoever was left, they wanted to completely strip us of our land and depopulate our country. That they banished us in large bodies. Okay, large amounts of numbers. It was just kicked out of the land.
And dispersed through other provinces of the empire.
Mm-hmm.
And yet such was the dread in which the new dynasty held these warlike people.
Okay, so we were so dreadful to them. Okay, they were so afraid of us. Go ahead.
That they forbade more than 1,000 of them to be within the walls of Cusco at a time.
Okay, so we were so warlike and they were so afraid of us that they wouldn't let more than 1,000 of us be inside the walls of Cusco at a time. Let's see why.
Lest they should attempt some revolutionary enterprise.
Because they knew if we got in sufficient numbers, we'd kick them out of there. Okay.
It therefore appeared that no means were left untried to subdue and exterminate the people of Colo.
Okay, no means were left untried. Okay, they didn't spare nothing. They didn't spare no means to exterminate us and depopulate our country. They tried everything. Go ahead.
Yet how far such a system persisted and at intervals for more than 2 centuries could have inhabited a whole nation.
Okay, so he says, he's like, how this system could have in over 2 centuries annihilated a whole nation.
I shall not attempt to decide.
But he's like, man, I'm not even going to try to figure out how they wiped out this whole nation. They annihilated this whole nation of people in over 2 centuries, a little over 2 centuries. All right, family, here we are at same book, Crania, Americana, page 142. And this is going to address the time of the decline of the Toltecs.
Crania Americana, page 142. On the decline of the Toltecan monarchy, the Chicamicas appeared in Mexico.
Okay, at the decline of the Toltecan monarchy, when they were already starting to fall, here come the Chicamicas, okay, appearing in Mexico. Go ahead.
They were a nation of hunters, clothed in the skins of beasts.
Okay, these people were a nation of hunters, clothed in the skins of beasts. Okay, remember, we already had the practical arts of life. We had that stuff down packed already. We moved on from just killing animals, skinning them, and wearing the clothes. Okay, we had that stuff taken care of. We were able to focus on bigger and better things, like building pyramids, temples, big monuments, aqueducts. Okay, go ahead.
They were a nation of hunters, clothed in the skins of beasts, and unacquainted with agriculture or the arts of civilized life.
Okay, these were your savages. Okay, unacquainted with agriculture. They didn't even know how to grow. Okay, they just ran around killing stuff and skinning them and putting on the skins for clothes. Okay, they were unacquainted with agriculture or the arts of civilized life. Okay, these are your savages if you want to point to somebody and call them savages. Alright, but the Olmecs and Toltecs had an advanced civilization. Go ahead.
Although the Checamicas were a rude people, they were not averse to civilization.
Okay, they weren't against it. Okay, even though they were a rude people, they were not against civilization. Go ahead.
They mixed with the Toltecs, who still remained in the country.
Okay, these people mixed with the Toltecs. Okay, they learned from the Toltecs. All right, they learned their ways of agriculture, the ways of garment making. Okay, even some of their practices of religion they learned. Okay, we're going to see that was actually a fulfillment of prophecy. All right, amongst others. Okay, go ahead.
They mixed with the Toltecs, who still remained in the country, adopted their agriculture, and many of those ornamental arts to which we have already adverted.
Okay, so the ornamental arts, all the gold making, the silver making, the copper and all that stuff, they adopted that stuff from the Olmecs and the Toltecs. Okay, they remained in that country. Go ahead.
It was during the Checamican monarchy that the 7 tribes took up their abode in Anahuac.
Okay, so here come the Checamecas on the decline of the Toltecs, and here comes 7 other tribes or families to join them, to join the Checamecas. Okay, we're going to see they were the same people. All right, and we're not going to read off every name of them, okay, because they're really insignificant. If you want them, get the book yourself and do your homework, okay? Yeah, go ahead.
This immigration took place in the year 1178.
So the Checamecas didn't show up until the Checamecas showed up, and then those 7 families didn't migrate until the year 1178 AD. Okay, not BC, AD. Go ahead.
These several tribes established themselves independently in Anahuac, the Mexicans being the last in order of arrival, AD 1245.
Okay, now we've already established that Anahuac was the capital of Tiahuanaco. Okay, and if we haven't, we will. Okay, it's right here in the lesson. Anahuac was the capital of Tiahuanaco, which was a stronghold of the Olmecs and the Toltecs. So here's the Checamecas and these 7 other tribes showing up in 1178, and the Mexicans were the last to arrive in 1245 AD. Okay, so no, they're not the indigenous of anywhere. Okay, actually, we're going to show you where they're indigenous to. Okay, but it ain't America. Go ahead.
Subsequent to the 7 tribes, there arrived another great family, bearing the name of Alhuacans, whose native seats were nearly identical with those of the Checkamacas.
So here comes another family known by the name of Alhuacans. Okay? Their native seats were identical to that of the Checkamacas. Go ahead.
A confederacy was early established between the Alhuacans, the Checkamacas, and the Toltecs.
Okay, so you had the Toltecs, who were the original inhabitants, okay, who were descendants of the Olmecs. They're the same family. Those are the original inhabitants of North, Central, and South America. Then in the 1100s and 1245, here comes these Mexicans, okay? They linked up with the Checkamacas, they were the same people. The Checkamacas, the Alhuacans, okay? It says that they early made a confederacy with the Toltecs. They joined their nation. Remember, the Toltec, their monarchy was on decline. They weren't as strong as they should have been or as they could have been. So here are these other families, these Mexicans, these Indians showing up, and they're linking up with them. They're learning their ways. They're learning the agriculture. Okay, and then all of a sudden, 7 more families come. And then a whole great family of them come. Now, here you're looking at here's the Toltecs looking around like, wow, who are all these people in our land? And remember, they're on the decline. Okay, go ahead.
And the national appellation was derived from the first of these tribes, which is represented to have been further advanced in civilization than any people of Anahuac.
So it says that those Mexicans that showed up, okay, the Checkamacas, it says that they were further advanced as any people in Anahuac,
excepting the Toltecas.
Except the Toltecas. Okay? The Toltecas were still further advanced than them. Okay? They had the most advanced civilization. Okay? When they showed up, they was learning from us. They was learning from the Toltecs and the Olmecs. Go ahead.
These nations, together with the Nolacas, Nalacas, appear all to have spoken dialects of the same language.
Okay, so they all spoke the same language. Go ahead.
A fact which is accounted for in their cognate origin.
And they had the same origin. They came from the same place and they spoke the same language. Okay, these are the people that took over Mexico after the Olmecs and Toltecs fell. Okay, but the Olmecs and the Toltecs were there hundreds, possibly a couple thousand years before. Go ahead.
The Aztecs or Mexicans.
The Aztecs or Mexicans
were at first tributary to the Alhuacans.
Okay, so the Alhuacans, which got there a little bit after the Checkamacas, the Aztecs or Mexicans were tributary to them. Okay, they paid them taxes, they paid them tribute. Go ahead.
But they early shook off the yoke.
Right away. Like, you know what? Nah, we ain't going this way. We're going to do our own thing. They shook off the yoke and did what?
And became in their turn the rulers of Mexico.
Okay, that's how the Aztecs ruled in Mexico. Okay, they came down there and found somebody else's stuff that was already in ruins. They found a war-torn people, okay, who had already gone through a war of extermination and all kind of stuff. Okay, and they linked up with their family, okay, and they took over. Okay, and it was in the year, a little after 1245 AD that they took over. Go ahead.
Which they governed until the capital fell into the hands of the Spaniards under Cortez in the year 1521 AD.
So they had a couple hundred years, okay, to try to erase our history and assimilate themselves and attach our identity to them, but it didn't work, okay, because our people left great monuments depicting themselves and how they look. And also they left hieroglyphics, aka pictographs, okay, within the monuments of their language, which the Indians didn't speak. Okay, let's go to page 148. Same book, Crania Americana, page 148.
Page 148. They had their fasts.
Now this is speaking about the Mexicans, okay? The modern day Mexicans. And it's going to make the distinction for you. They had fasts,
Penances and feasts.
penances, okay, those are religious observances, and feasts.
Their monks, vestals, and priests of different orders.
Who did they learn that stuff from? They learned it from the Toltecs, who they assimilated with. Okay, they learned their agriculture, they learned their practices. Go ahead.
But what, in most surprising, in a nation possessing any claim to refinement?
Okay, so this is something that blows people's mind about a nation that claims any level of civilization or refinement. Listen to what he's going to drop right here.
Was there numberless human sacrifices?
Okay, these people sacrificed humans. Okay, we know that was a practice that was not in the Israelite culture. Okay, that's murder. That's against the Torah. Okay, and the 10 tribes left the land of Assyria, so that they could keep the commandments. Not to come over here and start sacrificing people. And we're going to see that they was eating the people too. And we're going to see that they were doing that to us. Okay, that was during that war of extermination. Okay, they were doing these things to the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Was there numberless human sacrifices? Men, women, and children.
Men, women, and children. Think about the movie Apocalypto. Okay, when they was going out and rounding up the people who were left around in that country. Okay, Jaguar Paul would have been an Israelite. And they kind of drop it on you in the movie when he falls into the quicksand. And he come out and he's all black. And he says, my father hunted these forests. And my grandfather hunted these forests. Okay? Pay attention.
Sacrifices. Men, women, and children were put to death by every possible variety of suffering.
Okay, this is what the Mexicans did to the children of Israel. Okay, and people got them all up in their congregations not knowing who they are. Okay, but the truth is coming out. And this is undeniable proof. And we have more to come. Go ahead.
And there seems to be no doubt that the blood of no less than 20,000 human beings was annually devoted to the gods of the Mexicans.
They killed 20,000 people a year. Okay? I'll let you guys do the math. Okay? Do the math and see how many people that was per day that they were sacrificing and offering to their gods. Men, women, and children. 20,000 per year. Go ahead.
When to this account we add the appalling fact.
Now this is an appalling fact. What is it?
That the bodies of the victims were devoured at the feast of the people.
Okay, so not only did they have human sacrifices, but they were cannibals. Okay? They devoured the bodies of the sacrifices at their feasts. Go ahead.
We are compelled to acknowledge that no nation on the earth has ever presented such a cannibal combination of revolting enormities.
So he's like, these are the most despicable people on the face of this earth. We have not encountered anything in history. Okay? We could probably point to something, but in this context, we're going to keep it isolated to this. Okay? We're not going to bring up Esau. Alright? But he's calling these people despicable. Okay? This is revolting. Alright? Go ahead.
It is but just. It is but just, however, again to remark that these abominations
were
not practiced by the Toltecs.
These abominations were not practiced by the Toltecs. He said it's just to make that remark. Like, man, I just got to do it. Okay, it's the right thing to do. to let the people know that the Olmecs and the Toltecs had no part in sacrificing and eating humans. Okay, but the Mexicans did. Go ahead.
It is but just, however, again to remark that these abominations were not practiced by the Toltecas and the other ancient nations of Anahuac, but by their successors.
But by their successors, the people who came after them.
And perhaps conquerors of the Aztec family.
It was the Aztecs, okay, that was sacrificing and eating human flesh. Okay? And we prove, okay, that they were doing it to the Olmecs and the Toltecs, who even their own tradition state were the children of Israel. Okay, but we're going to prove it. We're going to prove it even further. All right, let's go to page 157. Same book, page 157. Crania Americana. All right, now we're going to go into the Natchez. Okay, the Natchez Negroes. Okay, we're going to show that these Natchez were a branch of the Toltec family. And also the Natchez, you can research them very easily and find that they were the mound builders. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The Natchez were the mound builders, the original mound builders of the Mississippi River Valley. Okay, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. Okay, they were the builders of those mounds in those areas. Okay, we're going to show some proof of it as well. All right, the Natchez. Go ahead.
The Natchez, page 157. The traditions of the Natchez state that they migrated from Mexico at two different periods.
Okay, we know that one of the strongholds of the Olmecs and the Toltecs is right there in Mexico. Okay, the Natchez said, yeah, we came from right over there in two different periods. Go ahead.
And their singular usages lead to the belief that they were a branch of a great Toltecan family.
Okay, and all of their customs, okay, the tools, their language, okay, it identifies them as a branch of the great Toltecan family.
Which, as we have seen, was subjected to great vicissitudes, and ultimately, in a great measure, expatriated from Anahuac.
Okay, so it's telling you that the Toltecs were subjected to great persecutions. Okay, that war of extermination that we spoke of. Okay, and in great measure, they were expatriated from Anahuac. They were kicked out of their own country. Okay, let's go to page 160. Same book, same chapter, still dealing with the Natchez. Page 160.
Page 160. The people thus described are said to inhabit the province of Tula. And it is curious to observe that this name was also that of the Toltecan capital of Anahuac.
So the Natchez had a city named Tula. Okay, Tula. All right, which was also the name of the Toltecan city. Okay, the capital of Anahuac. Okay, is that a coincidence? No, they were the same people. Okay, and they named some of their cities the same names. All right, go ahead.
And signified a place of reeds. The same name is found in Texas.
The same name is found in Texas
and Guatemala. Indicating the migration of the Toltecan nation.
So that was indicative of a migration of the Toltecan nation. Okay? The Natchez, they told us in the beginning of this part that they were a branch of the great Toltecan family. And the names of their cities, the singular usages that they had, their language, their tools, their religious practices are also indicative to that fact. Go ahead.
It is, therefore, a reasonable presumption that the Natchez were a colony of the old Toltecan stock.
Okay. He's like, yo, man, we got all this evidence. It's pretty reasonable to say, yeah, they told us they were, but yeah, we're going to agree with them that they were a branch of the old Toltecan stock, the original Toltecs, or the original Olmecs. Go ahead.
The Natchez lived very much excluded from intercourse with the adjacent nations.
So they lived amongst themselves. They didn't intermarry, right? Isn't that a law in Deuteronomy? Okay, to keep the seed holy. Okay, they was keeping that law. They didn't intermarry with the people that was around them. Go ahead.
Accepting the Chetamakis.
Okay, that was another branch of the Toltecan family. Okay, go ahead.
They inhabited the banks of the Mississippi.
These are the Natchez. Okay, the Toltecs inhabited the branch of the Mississippi. The banks of the Mississippi,
in 3 principal villages near the city, which now bears their name. But the last remnant of the nation not long since occupied a small village on the Tallapoosa River in Alabama. During the late war between the United States and the Greek Indians, these Natchez joined the army of General Jackson. But since that period, their name appears to exist only in history.
Okay, so there was a war where they can trace back the presence of the Natchez. Okay, there was a war between the Creek Indians and this guy General Jackson. All right, the Natchez joined them. Okay, from that point on, their name ceases to exist in history. All right, but we know their relics, their monuments, the mounds, the Hebrew artifacts found in all these mounds are everywhere. We're going to also go into some of the evidence to show that the skulls, the skeletons that they find in these mounds are Toltecan, okay, Olmecan, and we know what they look like. All right, these are the original planters of America. Now from there, let's go to page 223. Same book, page 223. And this information might be hard to grasp for some. This isn't milk, okay? This isn't for the beginning. But for those who can endure to the end, you will see the truth. All right, we're on page 223 of Crania Americana.
Crania Americana.
Now this is dealing with the skulls that were found in the mounds. Okay, go ahead.
Skull from a mound on the Alabama River. The very interesting cranium has been already mentioned in this work, page 162, where 3 views are given in wood outlines. It is there mentioned as the property of Dr. O.H. Fuller, who, having politely allowed me the use of it, I have gladly made room for it in this book.
Now this is one of the genuine skulls found, one of the skulls found in one of the mounds. Go ahead.
It is supposed to be a Natchez head.
It's a Natchez head. Okay, the mounds were found in their lands, and their skulls, okay, their bones are found in the mounds. Okay, put 2 and 2 together. They built the mounds. That's pretty simple, right? Go ahead.
Which is altogether probable. But I insert it here as a genuine mound skull. Genuine mound skull.
So he's like, yo, this is a genuine mound skull. Okay, and it's of a Natchez. Okay, who we know the Natchez were of the great Toltecan family, who came from the great Olmecan family. Okay, we know what they look like. Let's go to page 228.
Page 228. The preceding illustrations embrace 8 genuine mound skulls.
So he goes over these illustrations, okay? There, he says, yo, I'm presenting 8 genuine mound skulls.
And no one, I think, can examine them without being struck with their resemblance to the other crania figured in this work.
So he's like, yo, man, if anybody knows about this stuff and they look at these things, they're going to be like, yo, they look like the other crania in this work, the other skulls that he's talking about in the book. Go ahead.
They have the low forehead, high cheekbones, small facial angle, massive lower jaw, prominent vertex, flat occiput, and rounded head of the American race.
Okay, so he's like, yo, these guys come from the American race. Remember, there was 2 types of people in America. He's going to distinguish which one he's referring to.
And when we recur to the geographical distribution of the mounds as already noticed, they will be found scattered over those parts of both Americas,
Over those parts of both Americas, North, Central, and South America,
which were inhabited by the demi-civilized nations embraced in the Toltecan family.
So all 8 mound skulls were found to be of the Toltecan family, of the Olmecan family. Okay? Let's go to the next page, page 229.
Page 229. It will be observed from the preceding plates that the people who the people who interned their dead in the mounds were in the practice of distorting the skull by art.
Okay, so they had a practice, it was part of their culture, where they would flatten the skulls. Okay, when the child was born, they would put him in this little box, okay, and put a leather strap over the head. And we know when children are born, you got to roll them, you got to keep them, you can't just let them lay on one side of the head or else it'll be whopped, okay? Now that's what they were doing. They were doing it on purpose, all right? They would artificially mold the head into a certain desired effect, okay? Go ahead.
Both in the horizontal and vertical methods.
Both in the horizontal and vertical, okay? Sometimes it was elongated, sometimes it was flattened and made wider. But this is a custom of the Olmecs and the Toltecs. Go ahead.
And if I might judge from the 9 adult mound skulls now in my possession, and sufficiently perfect for measurement, the people whom they present were one and the same.
The people whom they found in the mounds were one and the same with who?
With the American race.
With the American race.
And probably of the Toltecan branch.
And probably of the Toltecan branch. Okay? Let's get this reference real quick out of this book. Because this whole study can be broken down in a couple of words. Read from right here. And then stop right here.
This is the black image in the white mind.
Black image in the white mind.
Page 74. The originator of the new scientific anthology was Dr. Samuel George Morton of Philadelphia.
That's who wrote this book, Crania Americana. Okay? The book that's being referenced in this book right here is the one we've been going through. Go ahead.
Who published a book in 1839 that promised to bring an end to loose speculation about racial origin and differences by opening an era of hard-headed empiricism.
Okay, empiricism.
Okay,
so this guy is like, yo, there's all this loose speculation going around everybody's trying to find out where everybody came from. This guy's like, yo, man, I'm gonna put an end to all this. Okay, I'm gonna break it down to a science. Okay, listen to what he says.
Morton's Crania Americana,
the book we're going through now,
was the result of years of collecting and examining human skulls.
Okay, years of collecting and examining human skulls.
As he gathered and studied the crania of different types of men, Morton became aware of the differences between white, Indian, and Negro skulls.
Okay, so he's gathering all these skulls. It became apparent to him, okay, that there was a difference between the Caucasian or white or Edomite, Indian, and the Negro skull. There's a difference between them. Go ahead.
And of the fact that the ancient crania,
or the ancient skulls
from a given race did not seem to differ from those of their modern descendants.
So the ancient skulls of a given race does not differ from their modern descendants. Okay, that's why the Negroes, they look like Olmecs. Okay, we got a brother, you put an Olmec war cap on him, and he looked like one of the stone heads. Okay, we look just like our forefathers. The ancient Israelites look just like us today. Okay, go ahead.
Morton concluded that the races had always had the same physical characteristics.
Okay, they had the same physical characteristics. All right, now we're going to skip to this part right here. Yeah. In the 1840s.
In the 1840s, Morton calibrated with George R. Glidden, an Egyptologist.
So this guy, we're going to get a little bit of extra information for you guys. A little treat right here. Okay? This guy clicked up with an Egyptologist. Okay? Now we're studying the skulls found in the tombs of Egypt. Let's see who was in Egypt as well. Okay? Because these skulls not only identify some of the people that was in Egypt, but they also link to the Negroes here today, and the Olmecs, and the Toltecs, and the Natchez. Okay, we were all one and the same people. Let's hear what he has to say about the skulls found in the tombs of Egypt.
Morton collaborated with George R. Glidden, an Egyptologist, who provided him with mummy heads and information about the racial significance of Egyptian tomb inscriptions.
So this is a guy with access, okay, to the tombs of Egypt. And he gave this guy mummy heads, okay, and information on the hieroglyphics of the tombs of Egypt. So not only was he dealing with the forensic evidence of it, but he's dealing with the hieroglyphics, the written history of the Egyptians themselves. Let's see what he has to say.
In Crania Egyptica,
there's another book. We have that one as well. Okay, we'll be bringing out information on that too.
In Crania Egyptica, published in 1844, Morton's pointed out that both cranial and archaeological evidence shows that the Egyptians were not Negroes.
Doesn't the Zondervan Bible Dictionary say that? Okay, so this guy proved that as well just by looking at the skulls. Okay, so if you don't think this forensic evidence is valid, throw away your Zondervans. Okay, don't even go into it no more. Okay, but this guy proved through the study of the skulls, through the forensic evidence, that the Egyptians were what?
That the Egyptians were not Negroes.
That the Egyptians were not Negroes. Okay, listen to what else he has to say.
As abolitionists and colonizationists had maintained.
Okay, so the abolitionists, okay, people so-called fighting to end slavery, okay, and colonizationists, okay, the people who was implementing it, okay, they was telling us that we was Negroes. They was like, no, these Negroes are Egyptian, okay. They was saying we was Egyptians, all right, and that's the same thing that our people are caught up in today, and it's madness, and we're going to smash it, okay. Go ahead.
Had maintained and that in fact blacks had been relegated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in modern America.
Oh, wow. He proved through the forensic evidence of the skulls and the hieroglyphics on the wall that blacks, okay, Negroes in America were relegated to the same position, the same servile position in ancient Egypt as they were or are in modern day America. Didn't the Most High tell us He would send us into Egypt again with ships? Okay? We're reading some forensic evidence that backs that up as well. Okay? And let's get back to our study. Okay. Let's go back to Crania, Americana. All right, and we're going to deal with the inhabitants of the Caribbeans, okay, who they call Caribs. All right, page 236, Crania Americana, page 236.
Crania Americana, page 236, the Caribs. That part of the American race called Caribs was at one period a numerous and widely distributed people.
Okay, so even they admit that they were a numerous and widely distributed people. All right?
Their native seats were the northern regions of South America.
What's in the northern regions of South America? Peru, maybe? So they came from the same place as the Olmecs and the Toltecs. Okay? The Caribs, okay, of the Caribbeans, they were Negroes. All right, go ahead.
Almost from the river of Amazons northward to the sea, including the great valley of the Orinoco, and much of the present provinces of Guyana and Venezuela.
Okay, that was the original seats of the Caribs, and we're going to show how they got there. Okay, they didn't start there. The Caribs were the dispersed of the Toltecans. Okay, when the Mexicans showed up, they pushed them further east out of Peru, out of Mexico, and they relocated themselves in Venezuela, Guyana, and also the Caribbean islands. All right, go ahead.
From thence, they extended their migrations to all the Antilles, from Trinidad to Santa Cruz.
That little narrow strip of island right there, they was all over that place. Okay, they were driven there. All right, through war and persecution. All right, so some of you that are from Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Vincent, Barbados, Grenada, okay. You're possibly from the original Olmecan stock. Okay, go ahead.
Peter Martyr,
you're right.
The companion of Columbus, declares that so fierce and menacing was the appearance of the Caribs, whom they took in their skirmishes.
So this guy said, so fierce and menacing was the appearance of the Caribs that they took in their skirmishes,
that no one could look on them without a sensation of horror.
Okay, so they couldn't even look at them without being shook. Okay, they had a sensation of horror when they looked at the Caribs. There ain't no other race on this earth that people just, when they look at them, they just get shook. Okay, you get a couple brothers walking down the street today. Okay, an Edomite with their pet tiger walking on the same side of the street got across the street because of some Negroes walking down the street. Okay, let's keep going. Page 238.
Page 2. Yeah, for real. That's real talk. Page 238. The Caribs of St. Vincent. That the Caribs of the Antilles were derived from the southern continent and not from Florida.
Okay, you might be mistaken if you look at the proximity of the Antilles, of the Caribbean islands. You might think that these people must have come from Florida. Okay, because Florida kind of branches down, into the Caribbean. Okay, but that's a mistake. All right, go ahead.
And not from Florida. It's proved by their traditions, their customs, and their language.
Okay, their customs, their language, okay, shows that they come from somewhere else. Okay, go ahead.
These Caribs were among the most ferocious.
They were among the most ferocious
and brutal of the American nations.
Why? Because at this time they were dispersed. Okay, they were of the branch of the Olmecs and the Toltecs. And when the Incas and the Aztecs, the Mexicans showed up and commenced that war of extermination on them, only the warriors survived. Okay, only the warriors survived and were able to disperse themselves amongst the other areas. Okay, and by that time they wasn't playing no games. Okay, it says that they were ferocious and brutal. Go ahead.
They were without laws and almost devoid of religious observations.
Why did it say we were without laws? Because we lost everything. We were a people on the move. Okay, we lost our temples. We lost the pyramids. Okay, we didn't have the things that we had in our native land. Okay, we were on the move. Okay, so we didn't have the evidences. You couldn't just look at us and be like, oh yeah, they have these laws and these religious observances because we were out in the wilderness. Okay, just surviving. And they had to cultivate that mentality to be ferocious and brutal in order to survive. Go ahead.
Suspicious and revengeful.
They were suspicious and revengeful.
To the last degree.
To the last degree. Okay? You couldn't just pull the wool over our eyes. We knew what was going on. We experienced it before. Okay? And we were revengeful to the last degree. Go ahead. Taking no mercy on our enemies. Go ahead.
They conducted all their enterprises with singular craftiness.
Okay, and we had tunnel vision when it came to doing what we wanted to do. Okay, singular craftiness. All right, we were very serious about our enterprises. Yeah, go ahead, read that. A law.
Okay. A law in 1504.
Okay, this is a law in 1504. All right, family? Do your research. Look up and see when the Dum Diversas was passed by the Pope. It was passed in 1452. Okay, so here it is, 1504.
By which the Spaniards were authorized to make slaves of all the individuals of the Caribs, of the Carib nation, who should fall into their hands.
Okay, this was a law that the Roman Catholic Church put out. Okay, the beast of Revelation, to go and enslave the world. Okay, to go and put every Israelite they found in captivity and hard bondage. Why? Because that was their time to rule and reign. All right, now we on page 239, still referring to the Caribs. Okay,
page 239, Crania Americana. One of the most remarkable facts connected with these people was their custom of flattering the skull of their offspring.
Okay, so they too flattened the skulls of their offspring. A custom that was practiced by the Olmecs and the Toltecs, the Natchez as well. Okay, the Caribs did it too. Go ahead.
That which has been often doubted is now reduced to certainty.
Okay, so they kind of doubted it, but hey, they got enough evidence to where it's pretty certain.
Yet it must be admitted as a singular circumstance that Peter Martyr makes no mention of it. And even Humboldt thinks that it was confined to the black Caribs.
Okay, so this guy Humboldt, he thinks it was confined to just the black Caribs. right? Who were what?
Who were of Negro descent.
Oh, here we go. There's some proof right there. The black Caribs who were of Negro descent, who had their original seats in the northern part of South America, right where the Toltecan and the Olmecan family came from. Okay? They were of a Negro descent. Okay? And the big Olmec heads just prove it. They were Negroes. Okay? They weren't Africans. They weren't Egyptians. They were Negroes. Remember, this guy knows the distinction between the two. Okay? These people were Negroes. Go ahead.
Mr. Lawrence has figured the head of a red Carib chief.
Now here, he's speaking about a red Carib. Okay? So far, we've been talking about the black Caribs. Okay? We see evidence of the two different types of Caribs in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands as well. Okay, but the first ones were the black Caribs who were of Negro descent. Now he's referring to a red Carib chief. Go ahead.
Who was well known in St. Vincent. And humbled, has represented both the natural and artificial configuration.
Okay, so he studied the real skull and a form of the skull, okay, a replica of the skull, the natural and the artificial. Okay, go ahead.
The former differing,
the first one, the real one,
differing in nothing from the ordinary Indian head.
Okay, this is the red Carib. Okay, he says that his skull differed in nothing from the regular Indian head. Remember, there's a difference between the white man's head, the Indian head, and the Negro skull. Okay? There's a difference between those three. Alright? Now this guy points it out that the black Caribs, okay, were of a Negro descent. Okay? And that the red Caribs were Indians. Okay? The red Caribs are who the Mexicans come from. Alright? They were that red man. Now let's see. Let's go back to the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Okay. Let's go to page 363. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, page 363. Now we're going to further solidify the evidence of the presence of the Israelites, okay, in North, Central, and South America. Okay, we just laid down the facts that the Olmec, Toltec, Natchez are the original inhabitants of North, Central, and South America, and that the Indians or Mexicans didn't show up to the 11 and 1200s. And they actually persecuted the children of Israel who they found here. Okay? Through their own traditions, out of their own mouths, they state that. Okay? Now we're going to further solidify the presence of the Hebrew Israelites. Okay? In North, Central, and South America. Under the names of Olmec, Toltec, Natchez, Carib, etc. Okay? Let's get it.
We start from the highlight. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders, page 363. 2.5 years before, he told them, while traveling in the wild mountains of Quito, he had heard some of his Indian guides remark that the natives of that country deserved all the sufferings they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. When he asked them to explain why they thought such a thing, they had replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. Nothing more had been offered by them on this point. But later in the same conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway, by means of a people now hidden. The two references apparently were to the same people.
Okay, now let's go to page 365. Tradition. Actually, the bottom of 364, leading into 365.
The bottom of page 364. Francisco told Montesinos all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people and had given warning that they should be left alone.
Okay, now this is referring back to that same war and persecution that we read about. Okay, the fourth Inca king, Maita Yupanqui, he commenced that war of extermination on the Toltecs. Okay, go ahead, let's see what they call them.
The God of these children of Israel is the true God.
Okay, the God of these children of Israel is the true God. This is out of the Indians' own mouth.
They had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. At the end of days, they will be lords of all the nations of the earth. One nation will come bringing many things to this land, and after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel will go forth from where they now are and reign over the whole earth, as they once did.
All praises to the Most High. Now we're going to go again, okay, just to solidify this, okay? This isn't it. We have a little more. We're going to go into this book again, the 10 Tribes of Israel, or the true history of the North American Indians, showing that they are the descendants of these 10 tribes, okay? The reason why they go into so much effort into writing these books, for one, is the evidence is there, okay? Two, is they're trying to attribute the true identity of the lost tribes of Israel to someone else, okay? And we're going to prove it not only through all this historical evidence, forensic evidence, archaeological evidence, but we're going to prove it in the scriptures too. All right, let's go to page 16 in there. And we're just going to revisit the account of this copper tube that they found. All right, which contained a portion of the Torah. All right.
Found one tribe in possession of a copper tube, tightly soldered, and when asked what it contained, they said they were not able to tell.
So the Indians had no clue what was in this tightly soldered copper tube. Okay, it was like they welded this thing closed. All right, that takes knowledge and skill to do that.
But they had received it from their ancestors a long time ago.
These Indians received it from their ancestors a long time ago, okay? Because they assimilated into our culture, into the culture of the Olmecs and the Toltecs, and eventually made war and persecuted them, okay? So, of course, they will be in possession of some of their relics, all right? Keep going.
He found it filled with parchment, with inscriptions. It was declared to be part of the 5 books of Moses.
The Torah. Okay, they found a portion of the Torah. Alright. Now let's go into Crania Americana, just to revisit that real quick. Alright, page 150. To show the Olmecs and the Toltecs had the knowledge of metallurgy. How to mine the certain metals from the ground. How to separate them. How to fuse them together. Alright, now that's an in-depth skill. Okay, you first have to know where they're at. You have to know what they are. You have to know at what temperature they melt. Okay? You have to know how to separate them. Okay? How to refuse them back together. All right? That's a skill. Okay? People following herds and hunting and I'm going to just kill this buffalo and put the skin on me. They're not at that point in civilization yet. All right? The Olmecs and the Toltecs and the Natchez had that stuff covered. Okay? To where we had the time to focus on those other things. All right?
Their knowledge of arithmetic and astronomy, as we have already noted,
speaking of the Toltecs,
was both extensive and accurate. They had constructed considerable aqueducts, of which the remains yet exist, and numerous canals for irrigation, of which one is asserted to have extended a distance of 150 leagues.
Over 700 miles.
They were able to extract, separate, and fuse metals.
Okay, thus the relic of tightly soldered copper with portions of the Torah. Okay, which was stolen from them and passed down through generations to those Indians. Okay, now let's go to page 146. Now we're really about to start bridging gaps right here. Okay, page 146.
Crania Americana, page 146. With respect to the form and expression of the Toltecan face.
Okay, so now we're talking about the form, how it looks, okay, how it's made up, and the expression, okay, the way that they presented themselves, their disposition of the Toltecan face.
We possess other remains of antiquity that no doubt approach very near to nature.
So he's like, man, this stuff looked just like these people. Okay? They weren't mistaken when they carved these things. Okay? They didn't make no mistakes and accidentally carve them looking like somebody else. These things approach very near to nature. It looked just like them.
And at least express what those people considered the Beau ideal.
The Beau ideal, or the beautiful, or the ideal
of the human
physiognomy. Of the human makeup. Okay? It expressed what they thought was beautiful. Okay? They painted themselves. Okay? They sculpted themselves. Alright?
I allude to the heads molded in terracotta.
Okay, now he's talking about the terracotta heads. Go ahead.
Which have been so abundantly found among the Toltecan ruins of Anahuac.
Okay, so the Toltecans, okay, in their ruins of Anahuac, they left an abundant amount of these terracotta heads that look just like them.
Hundreds, perhaps thousands.
Hundreds, perhaps thousands of these things.
Of these effigies have been obtained from the vicinity of the pyramid of the Teotihuacan alone.
Okay, so from the vicinity of the pyramid of Teotihuacan alone, they found hundreds, perhaps thousands of these little heads, okay, that look just like the Olmecs. Okay, look just like the Toltecs. Alright? Now we're going to be putting these up on the screen and implementing them in the video so you guys can see a close-up of what they look like. Just go ahead and kind of flash it. Alright, so the guy gives an example right here in the book of what they look like. Okay, and you can Google them for yourself. Alright? Now, we make the assertion that the Olmecs, and Toltecs, Natchez, and Charibs are the Israelites. Okay? So there must be some kind of connection to Israel. Alright? Let's see. Here's a book. The Ancient Black Hebrews and Arabs. okay, by Bantus and Gert Muller. All right, and in it they have depictions of the ancient Israelites. Right here is an ivory head from the false temple of Lachish. All right, and when you view this head, it's nearly identical to the terracotta heads found around the temples of Teotihuacan. Hundreds, thousands of them. Okay? This one is almost identical. Okay? This was found in Lachish, in the land of Judea, or else known as Judah. Alright? Both of these heads. So it gives you an idea of what the real Israelites looked like. Okay? And they look the same as the Olmecs did. Alright? And I'm going to also refer to the descriptions in this book from page 37 to page 41, where it shows the Judeans being thrown from the walls of Lachish by the Assyrians. Okay? We'll include that in the video as well. Now these Judeans are obviously Negroes, okay, with short, kinky hair and beards, okay, nappy beards. All right. Now we're going to go back into the 10 Tribes book. We're going to go to page 9 in this book. Flash the cover real quick. We're going back into this 10 Tribes book, page 9. And if you want to get this book, it's by T.R. Jenkins. Timothy R. Jenkins. And here we are on page 9. Okay, and it's going to be talking about a shekel that they found in America. Okay, an Israelite shekel with ancient Hebrew inscriptions on it.
The 10 Tribes of Israel, page 9, an ancient Israelite relic, having in my possession a very curious relic, a relic of that ancient nation, the Jews.
Okay, so this guy somehow came into possession of an ancient relic. Okay, an ancient Israelite relic. All right.
On one side is represented a censer with smoking incense.
Okay, where would you find that at? In the temple, amongst the Levites. Okay, who performed the sacrifices and burnt the incense. Okay, we're going to find that this was a temple shekel. Go ahead.
With a Hebrew inscription. Jewish shekel.
Okay, we're going to call it the Israelite shekel because we didn't call ourselves Jewish. Okay, we never wished we were anything. We are the real deal. All right.
On the other, also is a Hebrew inscription, the Holy Jerusalem.
The Holy Jerusalem, right, which is found where the temple is found. Okay.
With a representation of an olive tree, or perhaps palm tree.
Okay, as an olive tree or perhaps a palm tree. And we know that we refer to as branches of the olive tree. Okay, the natural branches. Okay, they were broken off for someone to be grafted in. We're going to talk about that as well. Go ahead.
Is it not more than possible that this shekel of Israel was lost by Indians?
It was lost by the Israelites. Okay, maybe found by some Indians, but it was lost by the Israelites who dwelt from coast to coast, North, Central, South America. Okay.
And is it not another evidence that they are descendants of the 10 tribes?
All right, so this guy's pointing out the fact that, look, this is evidence that the people who dropped this thing are descendants of the 10 tribes of Israel. All right, proving that they were in America. Okay, and with the combined evidence that we've already laid out, that the Toltecan family were from coast to coast in North America, were the original inhabitants of the place, you can only come to one conclusion, okay, that they're the Israelites, which we'll further prove. Go ahead.
Their relic is plainly Israelitish. The facsimile represents accurately the silver shekel of Israel.
Okay, so he's like, look, from our other records in history, from our other archaeological records, this thing represents accurately the silver shekel of Israel. All right, go ahead, page 10.
Page 10. In Michigan, 20 miles west of Detroit, 2 feet underground, it must have been left there before the discovery of America by Columbus.
Okay, so he's like, yo, this thing was 2 feet underground. Okay, it had to have been there before Columbus discovered the place. Go ahead.
Who could have left it there but one of the 10 tribes?
Who could have left it there? It had to have been an Israelite. Go ahead.
The Hebrew letters found engraved in the top rocks at Ticonderoga, the sheens found in Georgia.
So now he's referring to Hebrew letters found on tops of rocks. Okay, the sheens. Okay, the sheen, the SH in the Hebrew, found in where? Georgia. Go ahead.
And the inscription on the shekel are evidences that those who were taken by Shalmaneser,
those who were taken by Shalmaneser, the 10 tribes of Israel,
used the present form of Hebrew letter.
Okay, so what he's saying is this is the ancient Hebrew writing, okay, that they used all the way back before the dispersal, before the carrying away of the 10 tribes into Assyria. Okay, they came over here writing with the same writing. Okay, they brought relics with them. They had shekels with them still. Go ahead.
Hebrew language. There are inscriptions in the ruins of the city of Palenque in Central America.
Oh, okay. So even in the ruins of Palenque in Central America, they find Hebrew inscriptions. Okay? And we've already laid down the facts and the evidence of who built those pyramids and those temples in Palenque in Central America. It was the Olmecs and the Toltecs. Okay? The Aztecs, the Indians, the Mexicans had no part in building any of that stuff. Nor did they leave these relics behind, because they didn't come from Israel. All right? It was Israelites that left these things. All right, now we're gonna be flashing some stuff on the video for you of some further research. But I have a reference from online. Okay, this is off of New African 7.7. NEWAFRIKAN 7.7 WordPress.com. Okay, now with all this information, you would expect to find more ties from the Americas to the Israelites who we know were dispersed in Africa. Okay, and we're going to prove it right here. All right, this is a study of the Olmecs and Aztecs. Okay, they're mistaken by calling them Aztecs, as we already proved that the Olmecs were not Aztecs, and the Aztecs came way later. Okay, in the 11 and 1200s. Okay, but this is a study on the Olmecs and their lineage from West Africa, Mali, Niger, and Nigeria. Okay, linking the Olmecs with the dispersed of Israel, who we know fled into West Africa. All right? Go ahead and read that down to there. Now this is talking about the language, okay? And we're going to see that the Olmecan or Toltecan language, which was also spoken by the Natchez, okay, and the Charibs, was one and the same with the Mandinka language of West Africa. And we're going to bring out the evidence to show you beyond shadow of a doubt that the Mandinkas possess the Y DNA haplogroup of the ancient Israelite nation, which is the E1B1A haplogroup. Okay, go ahead.
According to studies and research conducted by Clyde Winters, the Olmecs were Africans from the Mandinka region of West Africa.
Okay, so there's a tie. Okay, from all the way across the ocean, he says the Olmecs were Mandinkas. Okay, go ahead.
They used the Mende script.
The Mende script, okay, M-E-N-D-E. Do your research. They used the Mende script
to write, and they spoke the Mende language.
Okay, so you have two nations of people separated by ocean, okay, with the same alphabet, with the same language. Okay, go ahead.
The same language spoken by Cinco in the movie Amistad.
The same language spoken by Cinque in the movie La Amistad. Okay, so when you hear the brother speaking in that, he's speaking the ancient Olmecan language. Okay, the Mandinka language, the Mende script that they still use today. Okay, go ahead.
The Mende script found on monuments at Monte Alban in Mexico.
Monte Alban in Mexico, this Mende script, this Mandinka language found in the monuments of Mexico,
has been deciphered, and it was found to be identical to the Mende script used in West Africa.
Okay, now we have a definite connection. Okay, you can't have two nations separated by oceans, have nothing to do with each other, and yet they have the same alphabet, same language, same words, with the same meanings. It's identical to each other without having some kind of contact with each other in the previous times. Okay? Go ahead. Oh, that's it, huh? Okay, so there's a connection right there with the language, okay? That's no coincidence that the Olmecs spoke the same language as the Mandinkas, all right? Now we're going to show that the Mandinkas possess the haplogroup of the ancient Israelite nation, which is the E1B1A haplogroup. Read that off right there. This is a distribution chart of the E1B1A in Africa. Go down. Yeah, go ahead, Gert.
Bamileke, 96 to 100%.
The Bamileke, 96 to 100% of them possess the E1B1A haplogroup.
The Ewe, 97%.
Mm-hmm.
The Ga, 97%.
We're identifying the lost tribes of Israel, if you have an ear to hear.
The Yoruba, 93.1%. The Tutsi, 85%. The Fanti, 84%. The Mandinka, okay, who are the same people as the ancient Olmecs. The ancient Olmecs and the Toltecs are the original inhabitants of North, Central, and South America, whose mounds we find Hebrew artifacts in. Okay, these are Negroes. Go ahead. 79 to 87%.
79 to 87% of the Mandinkas have the E1B1A Y DNA haplotype. Ancient Israelite nation DNA.
Ovambo, 82%. Senegalese, 81%. Ganda, 77%. Bihagos, 76%. Balanta, 73%. Fula, 73%. Herero, 71%. Nalu, 71%.
Okay, that's just to name a few. All right, the studies are progressive. Okay, now that we laid down the evidence, okay, that the ancient Israelite nation were the founders, the original people of North, Central, and South America, okay, and that they were found to be the Toltecs, the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Natchez, the Charibs, okay, who were of Negro descent. All right, now we're going to deal with the Indians. All right, and we're going to prove that they are not, I repeat, that the Indians, okay, and the Mexicans, okay, are not and never were of the 12 tribes of Israel.